Yes, greetings. Let's follow the work of yesterday. So yesterday what we did on this project started on 2 videos ago. So yes, 15 days. So yesterday we processed each of the track in situation, I mean against other track. So everything have been processed. Perhaps we will still EQ a few details, but yeah, processed, and I bounced everything in audio, so all our process from yesterday is printed. Okay. So I still have the list, and I will read after next. So next, we have to do some little arrangement modification and drum break and ear candy. Not sure of that, but there's still some cymbals. But rolling snare after breakdown, so I thought about making the snare roll continuously after the breakdown. So the breakdown is here. So after this section here, break. Putting the rolling snare. Also, I wanted in this kind of place, for example, here I have all the 3 melodic instruments at the same time. So it was practical to do balance and process, but in the term of arrangement, this is not the most efficient. So my first idea was to move a bit the strings. So this is the intro, and wanted the string to stop there, to leave the room for the brass to play here. Okay. Like that. And I think also the marimba will stop here. So the idea here is in the melodic section, meaning we have the bass and drum section, the skunk, which is kind of alone because it's rhythmical, and then we have 3 tracks fitting in the melody track. Okay, so the best way to arrange is to have only 1 instrument at a time. Okay, if we put 2 of them at the same time in that melodic group, let me set all the melodic group in the same blue. That way it will be more clear. Okay, so in all this section, most of the time we don't want 2 or 3 at the same time. Okay, but in some cases 2 it's okay. For example, let's listen to string and marimba. They go well together. Compared to horns and marimba. So let's make some room. Yes, greetings in the chat room. Greetings, Aital. So here, this is the drop. The breakdown before the second drop, I mean. And by the way, I think we will compress again this brass. As you can see on the screen, there's a big difference of amplitude between those parts and those parts, and even those parts. And this is one of the most important here. So even instead of going into a compressor, tweaking, let's see if we can increase the level of those parts simply by cutting it and bringing like 6 dB, let's see. Yes, 6 dB will be okay. So let's go everywhere. So you don't need to cut it really precisely to the note. Just cut it in big like that, and then you make the crossfade a bit longer. Okay, and the lower part, we will cut it also and reduce it. 3 dB must be okay. So human compression. How things, Aital? How things in life? Everything good? Okay, here too. Okay, and we are at the last point of the loop. -3 for that one. Something like that. Okay, and we will bounce that as a new horns. Okay, so as you can see, it took perhaps 2 to 3 minutes, and without the use of any compressor for now. The compressor will do exactly the same, but sometimes it can tame or attenuate, bringing some artifacts in the attenuation. So when it's some small loop like that, I prefer to go in tuning the level first, and then when I set a compressor, it got a little less work to do. We'll do something like that. Okay, and now I change its color momentarily. In that one, that way I know where to copy it again. Okay, so this is fixed. Let's continue the arrangement quickly. And perhaps we can set just a half here. Thank you. So, strings again. So let's set the horns just here after the drop. After that, we bring back the marimba. So end of the drop, of the breakdown drop. And second part of the drop. I guess we can leave like that for the end. And we will remove the marimba from there. Okay, in short, this will be like this. We can change back its color. So as always, this is for a few ideas. Let's go forward. So this is more or less fixed. When you do arrangement, be sure to keep at least one full loop of your loop somewhere in your arrangement. That way, later, if you find you need it in another place, you have the whole phrase somewhere, okay? So I also had some ideas for this intro. Make things come more progressively. So let's remove the piano. Here we are, the percussion coming, and then the piano coming. So you hear it at the beginning, the string part and the piano, all of the parts have been burned past. That's why the sound is dull at start. And it opens along the way, okay? As everything have been printed, I can't show you. But perhaps I can show you here. No, not even here. Okay, just a filter with an automated high pass. So perhaps when the piano comes, we can also, in the drum parts, make the things come more progressively. The rolling snare, for example, can come later, and that snare come here. That way we have percussions, rim shot coming, you can even bring the rim shot here because the piano is going in here, okay? So, strings, percussions, piano, rim shot here, and the whole drum coming here. So the whole drum is coming, but it is still high pass also. So we will keep the snare for later. The snare, we will keep it for the drop. And that special snare, that one, rolling snare coming after, okay? And perhaps we can make those marimba come earlier. We got an idea here. And in the horns, we will cut all the answers. Like this. So okay for that. Perhaps we'll come back later on this. So next, the drum roll. Let's do the drum roll. So in my idea, after the breakdown, only some drum roll. So the first idea would be, okay, if we duplicate this like this, okay, we will keep the 3 for later. Let's mute everything else but the drum. For example, let's try. Sometimes you just have to test the best option. Not too early. Here would be better. No, not this, not this. Okay, something like that. Okay. So let's duplicate this until the end. Okay, now in context. Okay, so as I was saying in the previous episode, I make an arrangement, like a virtual arrangement like this, to have an idea of where I'm going. But if I want to mix this from bottom to top on the mixing desk, I would avoid to make some huge breakdown, because it means that each time I will mix it, I will have the breakdown exactly at the same place. But it was most of all to get the idea of setting a breakdown in your track, not all of your tracks, but sometimes it is good to make a pause from all the bass frequency. Perhaps this is the moment where we can add some audio samples also. I still don't know which word I could say in an echo chamber in this place. But yeah, perhaps it will come before the end of this tutorial. So I set it simple for the rolling snare. It could be more worked, more detailed, but this will do the trick. The next thing I wanted to do was to look at my bass and see if it needs to be sidechained by the kick. So sidechain is not just a fashion, or you will do it for technical issues. For example, too much addition of some of the frequencies when the kicks appear. Okay. So first you will do this for that technical issue, problem to fix. And secondary, you would do it to make your music groove. like if we attenuate the bass each time the kick appear, like that, okay, it will create a new groove because now our bass note don't start on time. It starts after that time, okay? So it can induce some grooves also. And the third reason, which is also a technical reason, sometimes you are not obliged to sidechain 100%. We can sidechain just to reduce the level of the bass each time. Generally, if there's a bassist who play, the bassist know how to, play. It's not like this. He will play its note slightly after the kick if we want to be to groove. So let's come back to the third reason, which is another technical reason. Each of your kick will have a specific low frequency, okay? That specific low frequency will give us a wave shape. And if you look compared to the wave shape of the bass, it's sometimes in phase, meaning when there's a valley on the kick, we'll have a valley on the bass, but some of the time, the valley of the kick and the valley of the bass move for several reasons. The first is that in the bass line, bass are different, okay? So if you have a very low bass line, you will have a kind of wave, and if you have a higher note, this wave will be quicker. So that's what is happening here. And the other reason is in a kick, as you see, we have a very high frequency, and quickly the wave slow down. Okay, we have less bump. At start we have a lot of bump, and at the end no. So to avoid conflict or phase cancellation, for example here, not exactly, but if that wave was precisely here, okay, so at the opposite, when we have a valley on one of the wave, we have a mountain on the other, this would cancel. Even if it's not the same sound, this will cancel some frequency. Okay, so for that many reasons, that's okay in many styles to sidechain. Okay, and you can also sidechain only the low frequency if you want to keep your attack. But in our case, our bass is composed of the low frequency here and the mid frequency on another track. So we have low frequency here, and in the draft track, we have some high frequency. So it's not a big problem if we sidechain entirely this bass. Okay? So you have many tools to do that, LFO tool, Shaperbox, also Kickstarter, but I will use Shaperbox as this is the one I know the most. Kickstarter is something smaller, but it do the job, okay, just for sidechain. And in Shaperbox, we have several Shaperbox, different Shaperbox, and the volume. So let's set volume, and we will tell it to take audio input, and the audio input we want it to take the sidechain input, and in the sidechain of Shaperbox we will set the kick. Okay, so where's my kick? Okay, the kick is here. So even if it's the same concept of volume shaping, I really recommend this particular one. I test several one, LFO tool. I have tested also Gatekeeper from Polyverse, which is very great also. But this one is really the best for me because instead of having a sync sidechain curve, we can make it trig each time a kick appears. So to be sure this is well tuned, we can double check by clicking on this gear, and we double check in this window that the trigger is in front of each kick. Okay, and that's the case. So what you are seeing in the window, this is what I was talking about earlier. Meaning, you see, the kick, I can display it in a light yellow. The dark yellow is the bass. So if you can see, the bass note, the phase of the bass note is moving, while the one of the kick is not moving. So this is what will cause some phase cancellation from time to time in the bass note. The way to avoid this before we sidechain it like crazy into the DAW, as I said, all the bass would be played a little later always, like around here. Okay, the bass will start later. Or the bassist would always play very low during the kick, but here we can do this for the bassist. Okay, let's go. So what I do, I zoom via this parameter of length. I zoom the maximum to have my kick and the bass. And we barely hear it here. Let's mute the kick. And mute the mid also. Okay, when it's too long, as you can hear, is pumping style, and I reduce this distance. And already from here, it's quite okay. So I will not sidechain it full like this. This should be okay. So now we hear the bass is stopping each time. It's because I added a point at the end. We don't need no point at the end. We'll do this like that. Okay, so let's mute the kick. So now quickly to end this thing on the repetition on the sidechain, let's look at the master bus when I set kick plus bass without this sidechain. Let's look where it reaches. So when it play together, it reach -4.5. Let's switch on the shipper box. When we have this transparent sidechain, it reach -7, -6. Okay, we could even go deeper, meaning, but I don't need to go deeper. We will always have a little bump when the kick appears, okay? But we can reduce it like this, and doing this will give you the possibility to increase the bass more in your mix if you want. Personally, I like to have the transient or the kick being a little higher than the bass, because kick is short sound short, under 100 milliseconds, and bass is very long sound. Okay, last thing about this sidechain. We did it to have a technical sidechain here. So two last thing, if you want in your bass to sidechain only the bass, you can do this. Okay, if I solo the mid, we don't have any sidechain on the mid. And this is why we call it transparent sidechain. When you sidechain the whole band, you hear it. Here you hear it less. So let's go for just low frequency sidechain. We are done for that. Okay, so we fixed the melody, we added this drum roll here. Perhaps we will see if it needs some cymbals or sounds like that at the output of the breakdown. I can't hear this cymbal. Okay, this is here. So we'll keep the idea of the cymbal, but one octave higher. So quickly for cymbals, what I like to do, depending on some samples, sometimes they are not very long. So I like to add an echo after the cymbals, and I cut the low frequency in the echo via the filter. Okay. A very small amount of weight, loud feedback, and this is how we get this long tail. And yes, you can make it ping pong also to spread it. So yes, let's double check the list. So arrangement modification, more or less done. Drum break and ear candy, we didn't do drum break, but there's the break and the drum roll. Rolling snare after breakdown, this is done. Level track again, organize this as stems and export stems. Okay. So before exporting stems, I know some track got some filtering on their way, so I think there is the drum track, which has an automation of filtering, and the percussion track. Okay, these are my buses. But now we will remove every audio from going to the buses, and we will prepare a different track for our stems. Okay. So first we know that one will be alone. I like to keep them separated in my stems. So that one are okay. The kick will stay alone. The hi-hat also. Snare, I can gather this with, for example, the rim shot, as it has been processed. So snare and rim shot. This one I hesitate. We will leave it alone also for the teeny snare if we want during the dubwise to add, for example, some phasing on the snare. Congas and bongo I will group also. Cymbal riser I will group. And possibly group the 3 melodic track. Let's write all this in capital. That way I know this is processed. Okay, there's no effect on other buses. We have percussions. Okay, so for now my percussions go there and have this filter on them. So what I will do is to first group congas and bongo, Control J, and I double check that those 2 tracks are going to the bus out 16 group. Okay, that's the case now. Let's call it percussion. And now I will simply go into my old percussion group, cut and paste its effect. So I cut it here and I paste it on the percussion group. And normally, if you display the automation, you will see that it gets also the automation of that filter. Okay, so for this, that's great. As cymbal and risers got a bit the same role, I will put them in the same bus. Okay, and I will do the same. We'll double check where the output. Let's call those GP. That way I can see them in the list. Okay. Riser, bongo, riser, GP cymbal. This is my group. Okay. And before that, let me double check something. It was going to add drum, okay? And add drum, we have nothing on it, so it's okay. Okay, for the cymbals. Tiny snare, we said we keep it alone. It goes on the drum group. Okay, so what I will do is send it to the main master and copy the effect chain from the drum group as I did for the cymbal. So copy and paste it. Okay, for a little filtering at start and in the breakdown. So for this, that's okay. Rim shot and snare, I said I want to group them, so Control G. GP snare. Okay, I do all this because when we develop the arrangement in the first episode, we get an idea in the chat room of setting a filter at the intro of the track to make the sound more obvious when the drop comes. So this is why I'm keeping this idea, but I duplicate it on each track because when I will mix the dub, I want those separated from other drum elements. Okay, hi-hat will stay alone. So let's paste the same filter sweep on it and the same filter sweep on the kick. Let's go on the desk display and double check that everyone is going to a group or to the main output. Main. And I don't need all this now, so I will suppress it. All this go in main. Main, everyone is go to main now. So why it don't go into the main simply? Send only and main. Stereo sidechain fab filter. No, I don't want you to go into the stereo sidechain fab filter. Okay. Here we go. Okay, save all that. It's proper and cleaner now. Now let's double check the level before we bounce that in separated track. So another thing interesting to do before bouncing is to name all this in the order you want, but in let's say in same order as you do every time. Okay. Here it will be simple. As I said, I will group also all those instruments and call that group melodies. So we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's add all this. Cymbal, we will paste it around the hi-hat. Okay. Or let's call it snare roll. Okay, this idea, I don't like it no more, so I will remove this. Like this, I keep the hand to have my tail. Yes, better like that. Okay, so we will end up with 10 tracks in total. So I will re-level all this, and for that I will reduce a bit the master from 6 dB, because I want generally my kick at -6, and I make everything else gravitate around the kick. So let's mute everything and switch it off one by one. Okay, something like that. Let's come back to the cymbals. Lower cymbal was better, so let's try something. Yes. So there's no norm, but I saw with time that when we pick the cymbals around the same level as the hi-hat, they're pretty in the ballpark in terms of level. Sometimes it can be very hard, so you will drop it down a little, but I tend to set same family instrument in same range of level. Okay, so here it's near to perfect because we have -12, -13. I think I can go till here. Okay, for the percussion. Greetings, DH Logo. close to the final balance. Okay, so what we did today is first fixing a bit of the arrangement in the melodies. I made things for no melodic instrument play too much at the same time. The maximum we get is two of them playing at the same time here. Most of the time they play each their turn. After that, we added the snare roll after the breakdown is going roll. Before the breakdown, it is like this. So what am I working today? This is the part 3 of what I did yesterday. So I just want to answer your question before reading the post. So this modification of this drum roll after the breakdown. So let me set all the instrument. Listen. Okay, I set back the level. I set a little sidechain, transparent sidechain on the bass, only on the bass frequency. And I think that's all. Everything seems to be raw, but I hesitate to add more effects because on the next step I will mix this. So now I'm here. Okay, and after that, what I did is to group instrument to prepare my stems. So generally, I keep mid bass and bass separately, still, and then each drum element separately. My rhythm section, today there's only one piano in this, and my melody section. So generally for the melodies, I would have minimum 2 tracks, one for the pads and one for the melodies themselves, and one other if there's a lead melody. But in our case here, we have 3 instruments, but playing in between melody and pad. So I set everything together. Perhaps what we can do to have more control is to remove the marimba from this and bring the marimba like an independent track. Okay, let's say we don't have some mute guitar because it's not like roots reggae, but this marimba sound can have this mute roll. Okay, and in this case, as it is alone, I can reactivate everything I mute. Why can't I move this? Okay. Like this. Okay, so isolated track, I can leave them playing all way long. In this case, this is a loop, but it can be a whole arrangement with different parts. Okay, and this kind of track are not secondary, but are secondary compared to the skank, for example. So it would be mute, and I would switch it on when I wish to have some mute guitar in my mix. Okay, and second thing, as I free up space in that melody track, I can now fill up this space with my ons loop. Okay. So we just have to keep in head that every track that are not grouped can be muted independently. Okay, so what I did simply, I put some ons everywhere we don't have some strings. So I take the end of that one, even for the beginning, because that way I have the tail of my sound also, you see. Like this, okay. Powerful melody. Thank you, Aital. So how many time? 1 hour? Okay, I'm close to finish this one. Okay, I could go again and again on it and try to perfect everything. If I had more time or not the possibility to have that much tool to mix it afterward, I would go on each track and add some other processing, as we see yesterday, like some autopan or some width effect or whatever kind of effect. Let's say when you are at this stage of everything near to clean, you can make your last decision of shaping your sound, and then you will bounce it. So let's say that now we are at this stage, meaning for us everything is okay, and we will take those themes to make our mix. So I rename quickly the numbers because I set some modifications. Okay, and from there you set a loop around your whole track. So before that, we set a fade out for this. Okay, and for the start, it's always good to keep a bit of silence, one full measure, and you know you will place it on the right spot after the bounce. Okay, now you have your whole loop, everything is well named. Switch on. Before exporting, we can do something. Let's simulate if the addition of all this sounds good when we crank up a limiter. I just want to double check in this state how things sounds. So as you can see, the tune is not mixed. I'm not at the mastering stage, but I'm already at a pretty high LUFS level. Perhaps a bit too much, but I mean between minus 15 to minus 9, yes, this is the ballpark for me. The more it's digital and heavy, the more I will be close minus 9, and the more it's roots and need more dynamics, the more I will go around minus 15, 14. As always, this is not a rule, but more like a spot for me around where I will work. So if we want to see the difference between low level and high level, we will take the breakdown and see the difference between breakdown and the drop. Okay, so my riser was a bit loud. Okay, I will leave it like that. So now we double check everything. So we can remove the limiter. We don't need those effects. So 2 bones, simple. You will select your loop brace like this. Select all the tracks. Selecting one, hold shift, select the last one. Control Shift R. Okay, and in the export window, you will choose selected tracks only. Okay, I like to keep them in 32 bits, like this. Okay, export. So I have a folder where I stock my stems. I go into this folder, find the name for that track. Let's break dub. Okay, let's go for break dub. So generally, I will notify the tempo as a number and the name of the track. I keep that. I paste that name here. And now when Ableton will bounce this, it will bounce name file like 60 breakdub melody, 60 breakdub marimba, etc., etc. So let it bounce. Yeah. So we're done. This one was faster. If you want more detail or explanation or a few of them tips we use to do, for example, the riser or different element of processing, check the part 1 and the part 2. Okay. And what could I say else? Nothing. We will double check our bone stem in a new project. And this one will be ready to be mixed. So let's save that one. Open a new one, so a new live set. We will set its tempo to the tempo of our project. Okay, save it directly, because if you don't save your empty project, it will go in the temp folder of Ableton. It's good, but if you want to be sure to keep all your files, better to save it at the start of your project. Okay, stems, and I will put it inside this one, or even better, what we can do is to save it here. Okay, what? Let's come again on this. It is because I'm giving the same name as the other folder, so it bugs. Okay, and when my empty folder is done, no. What mistake? Okay, it's here. Here is my empty folder for this project, and then I drag all my file in it. That way, in the Ableton project folder, we have the stems. And why it is cool? Because now when we go into current project, we got our folder with our stems. And as we name them correctly, they will display in the same order. And that's it. Why not? Let's set back our colors. Okay, and this is how your stems are prepared. And what could I say else? I will bring this up a little. Okay. From there, you will mix it in the box by adding some effects in the effects return. If you want some idea on that, I made several tutorials, short and long. There's a lot of content about mixing in the box or on the desk. So this is where you will go to the output and send each output to any input of your analog desk, or you do all your routing into Ableton. So that's all for that tutorial. I think I will come back with some other subject. The next project I have for some tutorial is to clone some effects. Okay, I got the idea of it by because I have a few stomp effects. For example, there's a filter phase here, but some other more esoteric. So my idea was to clone them in some effect racks into Ableton and to see to which point we can clone one pedal. So uh, this is an interesting process because it makes you discover the possibility of all the effects in Ableton, and ultimately you will build your old effect concept. So let me give you an example. So this is a preview for the next tutorial. I have several manual here. For example, there's this manual I'm reading because I was interested in this machine. And this little machine, for example, is a modulator that can be synced, and you have one filter, one panoramic modulation, one tremolo modulation, and one phasing, chorusing, or flanging modulation. And all of this can be synced together or sync to the same tempo but at different ratio, okay? And each of these can be modulated by different wave shape. Okay, so there's a whole concept behind, for example, this model, and we will try to clone this. And what's good also, it's sometimes when you have some machine like that, they thought about it a long time and they know why they combine the specific effects. So I think this is really great to use Ableton effects or even VSTs and combine them to have a kind of same result for nothing in money. Okay, as long as you have some input and output, one input and one output of your sound card can emulate the input and the output of this pedal, and a MIDI controller can emulate all its control. Okay, so I think this will be an interesting topic. I already did some of that with the step filter from Shieldrum Records, with the I also cloned the Vermona filter. Brief, it will be all about cloning effects. So thank you for everyone who have been there. Don't hesitate to subscribe to know the next time I will go live. Generally, it's in the middle week, Wednesday, Thursday. And also, I'm from time to time live at mixing, so no more talking or tutorial. I'm just mixing my own music from time to time on TikTok and on YouTube. Long time I didn't do it on iElements YouTube. But yeah, so if you want to hear some live dub mixing on some of my older track and some unreleased track, yes, I do my experiment live. And surely tonight, what time is it? Yes, I have enough time tonight to do it. So, okay, have a great evening, make some great dubs, and yeah, we'll come back later. Not tomorrow, we'll see now for next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Okay. Dubwise. Thank you, Aital. Yes, we'll see on the next one. Dubwise.